The night I caught Randall betraying me, the world tilted on its axis. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that usually comforts me, but that night it pressed against my skin like a weight I could not shake off. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, and curiosity turned into devastation with a single glance. The screen lit up with a message so intimate, so vile, that my knees buckled. "I miss your touch already." Not written to me, his wife of 34 years, but to someone else. My blood roared in my ears, my breath came sharp and ragged, and suddenly every laugh we had shared, every promise whispered in the dark, felt like poison dripping into my veins. I had spent decades building a life with this man, and with one message he shattered it. But what Randall did not know that night was that I would not just cry and crumble. I would teach him a lesson he would never forget. Before I go on, let me take a moment to thank each and every one of you watching this channel. To my loyal subscribers, your support means more than words can capture. You are the heartbeat of this channel, the reason I find the courage to pour out stories like this one. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It may seem small, but your subscription is the fuel, the fire, and the energy that keeps this channel alive. Do not forget to drop your thoughts in the comments as the story unfolds, and share it with others. Trust me, you are going to want to talk about this one. Now, let us return to the moment my world began to fracture. My name is Joyce. I am 57 years old and I live in the quiet suburbs of Colorado. I had always thought of myself as a woman who chose stability. I married Randall when I was just 23, back when I still believed that love could conquer everything. Randall was tall, charming, with a voice that carried authority and a smile that drew people in. He was the kind of man who made promises with such conviction that you wanted to believe every word. And for years, I did. We built a life together. I supported him when he struggled to start his business. I raised our children. I put my dreams aside for his. And when he finally became successful, I thought we were reaping the rewards together. My closest confidant through all those years was Megan, my best friend since childhood. She knew every detail of my marriage, the good, the bad, and the things I never said out loud. She had always been my anchor, the one who reminded me of my worth whenever life tried to convince me otherwise. But as time went on, I began to notice the cracks. Randall came home later than usual, his cologne lingering stronger than before, as if he reapplied it before walking through the door. His laughter seemed reserved for others now, not for me. His phone became an extension of his hand, always turned face down on the table. I told myself I was imagining it, that after decades together, maybe we had simply fallen into routine. Yet deep inside, a whisper told me the truth. One evening, I asked him casually, "Randall, who keeps calling you so late?" He smiled that easy smile of his that used to melt me and replied, "Just work, Joyce, always work." But his eyes flickered away too quickly. My stomach tightened. I knew something was wrong, but I pushed it aside. I wanted to believe in us. Until that night. The night his phone lit up while he showered, and my trembling hands betrayed me. The name on the screen was C, just a single letter, but the message left no room for doubt. Your wife suspects nothing. Tonight was perfect. My body turned to ice. My heart pounded so violently I thought it might burst through my chest. Every part of me wanted to throw that phone across the room, to scream, to storm into the bathroom and drag him out with my bare hands. But I froze. Instead, I placed the phone back exactly as it was and sat down on the edge of the bed. My hands would not stop shaking. I could hear the water running, the sound of his humming, carefree and oblivious to the storm he had unleashed. That night, I stared at him while he slept. My husband of over 3 decades. and I felt like I was lying next to a stranger. I wanted to confront him immediately, but something inside me told me to wait, to watch, to gather every piece of truth before I made my move. And in that waiting, I discovered things about myself I had forgotten. I was not just a wife. I was a woman who had endured too much to let betrayal define her. But what Randall did not know that night was that I would not just cry and crumble. I would teach him a lesson he would never forget, because the message I found was only the beginning. I barely slept the night I saw that message. My eyes burned from staring at the ceiling, and my chest ached with a heaviness I could not shake off. 34 years of marriage, and I felt as if I was living inside a stranger's life. By morning, Randall was his usual self, whistling in the kitchen, kissing me on the cheek like nothing was wrong, and talking about some meeting he could not be late for. His performance was flawless, but to me, every smile was now a lie, every word a dagger. I poured his coffee and handed it to him with a steady hand, but inside I was crumbling. "Long day ahead?" I asked, pretending to sound casual. He chuckled. "You know how it is, Joyce. Clients keep me running." I nodded, but my eyes stayed on him. He was too calm, too comfortable. He had perfected the art of deceit. Watching him walk out the door that morning felt like watching a thief leave with everything I had built my life around. I spent the next days in a haze of suspicion, my senses sharper than ever. I noticed the way he smiled down at his phone, the way he turned slightly away from me when he answered calls, his voice dropping low and intimate. I felt invisible in my own home. My heart screamed for me to confront him, to demand answers, but my mind told me to be patient. I needed the truth in its entirety, not just scraps. So I began to observe. One evening, while Randall took his shower, I opened his briefcase. I had never done that before, but betrayal erases boundaries. Inside, I found a small gift box. A necklace, delicate and new, wrapped in silver tissue paper. My fingers trembled as I lifted it out. My birthday had passed 3 months ago, and our anniversary was long gone. That necklace was not for me. I slipped it back, my breath uneven, and forced myself to act normal when he came out, towel around his waist, humming. The betrayal stung, but what hurt more was his audacity. He would come home late, smelling faintly of perfume that was not mine, kiss me goodnight, and snore peacefully while my heart lay in shards beside him. One night, I finally broke the silence. "Randall," I said as he climbed into bed, "you have been distant lately. Is there something I should know?" He frowned, feigning confusion. "What do you mean?" "You barely look at me anymore. You are always on your phone. You are gone more than you are here." My voice shook, but I held his gaze. He sighed, exasperated, as if I was being unreasonable. "Joyce, you are overthinking. You always do this when I get busy at work. You are imagining problems that do not exist." His calm dismissal made me question myself for a moment. That's what gaslighting does. It makes you doubt the truth you can feel in your bones. But then I remembered the message, the necklace, the perfume. I was not imagining anything. So I nodded slowly, swallowing my rage. "Maybe you're right," I whispered. He kissed my forehead and turned off the lamp, satisfied. But in the dark, I clenched my fists and swore to myself I would not let him destroy me with lies. The days that followed were harder. I felt like a ghost in my own life, carrying a secret that was poisoning me from the inside out. Megan noticed the change in me. "You look pale, Joyce. What's going on?" she asked one afternoon when we met for coffee. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I forced them back. "I think Randall is seeing someone else." Her eyes widened, then softened with sympathy. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "I saw messages. I found a gift. I know." Megan reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You don't deserve this. Don't let him get away with it. Her words echoed in my head all night. One Friday evening, Randall claimed he had to stay late at the office, but my gut screamed otherwise. I decided to follow him. Heart pounding, I waited until he left, then grabbed my coat and slipped into my car, trailing his headlights through the streets of Colorado Springs. He did not go to the office. He pulled into a quiet restaurant on the edge of town, one of those dimly lit places perfect for secrecy. From my car, I watched as a woman slid into the booth across from him. She was younger, maybe in her 40s, with sleek hair and a laugh that floated through the window when she leaned close to him. He touched her hand across the cable like he used to touch mine, tender and careful. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My husband, the man I had given decades of my life to, was living another life right in front of me. I wanted to storm inside, to scream, to expose them both, but I stayed put, my chest heaving. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped pictures. Proof. Cold, undeniable proof. That night, I lay in bed with him while he snored peacefully, his arm draped across me as if nothing was wrong. The weight of his touch made my skin crawl. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, my heart hardened. He thought I was powerless. He thought I would stay silent, broken, forgiving. But I had something he didn't know. I had patience. I had proof. And soon, I would have a plan. The photographs burned in my mind long after I took them. Randall, holding hands with her. Randall smiling the same smile I had once believed was only mine. Each image was a dagger, but instead of bleeding, I grew colder, sharper. Betrayal changes you. It does not just wound, it forges something new. I spent days replaying my life with him, questioning every moment. Had he been cheating longer than I realized? Were all the late nights and urgent meetings lies? How many times had I been sitting at home making his favorite meals while he was feeding another woman sweet lies? The questions haunted me, but with each one, my resolve grew stronger. Randall had underestimated me. He thought of me as a dutiful wife, too soft, too old, too dependent to ever fight back. He was wrong. I began to prepare in silence. My revenge would not be loud or impulsive. It would be precise, calculated, and it would destroy the false security he had wrapped himself in. The first step was to protect myself. For years, I had let Randall manage our finances. He was the numbers man, the provider, and I trusted him completely. But now, trust was gone. Late at night, while he snored beside me, I logged into our joint accounts. My heart nearly stopped when I saw the withdrawals, large sums disappearing in patterns I had never noticed before. Trips, dinners, gifts, all masked as business expenses. He was not just cheating with his body, he was funding his affair with the money we had built together. That discovery hardened my resolve even more. I quietly opened a separate account in my name and began moving small amounts of money, careful not to raise suspicion. Every dollar I shifted felt like reclaiming a piece of myself he had tried to take. During this time, Megan was my anchor. I confided in her about the photos, the financial betrayal, everything. She listened, wide-eyed, her hand always clutching mine. "You need to protect yourself, Joyce. Men like Randall do not change. He will keep taking until there is nothing left." Her words echoed in my mind as I planned. Megan encouraged me, told me I was stronger than I realized. But sometimes when she asked too many questions about the bank accounts, about how much money was left, about the details of Randall's affair, I felt an odd chill in my stomach. She was my best friend, my sister in all but blood, yet something about her sudden intensity unsettled me. Still,
I brushed it off. After all, she had always been there for me. Why doubt her now? The next step was gathering evidence. I did not just want to confront Randall. I wanted to expose him, to make sure there would be no escape from the truth. I installed a small recorder in his car, hidden beneath the seat. The first time I listened back, my hands shook as I heard his voice, low and playful, speaking to her. He called her baby. He promised he would find a way to leave soon. He laughed in a way I had not heard in years. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and pressed save. One by one, I collected pieces of his lies. Texts, photos, recordings, proof of stolen money, proof of stolen love. My home became a gallery of his betrayal, each piece fueling the fire inside me. Then came the planning. I knew a simple confrontation would not be enough. I wanted him to feel the humiliation I felt. I wanted him to watch his world collapse in the same way he had collapsed mine. I started small, dropping hints that I knew something. I would ask him about work dinners he never mentioned, watching his eyes flicker. I would casually bring up financial questions, noting how his jaw tightened. The tension in our home grew thick, but he never suspected how much I truly knew. Meanwhile, I began creating my trap. I planned a dinner party, inviting close friends, neighbors, even some of Randall's colleagues. He thought it was to celebrate his recent business success. He smiled, pleased with the attention, unaware that the guest list would soon witness his downfall. As the day approached, I felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. My hands trembled when I rehearsed what I would say. I knew this was not just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my power, my dignity. But something shifted when Megan stopped by the night before the party. She sat in my living room sipping wine, her eyes fixed on me. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked softly. "Yes," I said without hesitation. "He deserves it." She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Just be careful. Sometimes revenge uncovers more than you're ready for." Her words lingered in my mind long after she left. What did she mean by that? The night before the dinner party, I lay awake beside Randall, my heart pounding. He had no idea what awaited him, no idea that I held all the pieces of his carefully crafted lies, no idea that tomorrow the mask he wore so effortlessly would be torn away in front of everyone he respected. I stared into the darkness, my breath steady. Tomorrow, Randall's world would end. Or so I thought. Because what I did not know then was that his betrayal was deeper than I imagined, and someone very close to me had played a role I never expected. The day of the dinner party dawned bright, the Colorado sun streaming through the windows as if mocking the storm that brewed inside me. I spent the morning preparing the house, laying out fine china, polishing silverware, and arranging flowers in tall crystal vases. To Randall, it must have looked like a devoted wife honoring her husband's achievements. But to me, every folded napkin and lit candle was another step toward his reckoning. Randall strutted around the house like a king awaiting his coronation. He wore his best suit, the one I had bought him years ago, and he beamed with pride. "This was a great idea, Joyce," he said, kissing my cheek. His lips felt like ice. "Everyone will finally see how successful I am." "Yes," I whispered. "Everyone will see." By evening, the house buzzed with laughter and chatter. Friends, neighbors, and business associates filled the rooms, sipping wine, complimenting Randall, telling stories of his accomplishments. I smiled and played the perfect hostess, but my heart raced beneath my calm exterior. Megan stood at my side, helping with trays of appetizers, her eyes darting around the room. "Are you ready?" she murmured under her breath when no one was listening. More than ready, I replied. But I noticed the flicker of something strange in her gaze. Worry, maybe even guilt. I pushed it aside. Tonight was about Randall. When everyone gathered in the dining room, glasses raised for a toast, I tapped mine with a spoon. The chatter hushed, and all eyes turned to me. I want to thank you all for coming tonight, I began, my voice steady, though my hands trembled slightly. Randall and I have shared 34 years of marriage. We have built a family, a home, and a life together. To the outside world, we may look like the perfect couple. Randall smiled proudly, his arm brushing mine. I stepped slightly away. But appearances, I continued, my tone sharpening, can be deceiving. Murmurs rippled through the room. Randall stiffened, his smile faltering. I pulled a small folder from under the table and held it high. This, I said, is the truth of who Randall really is. One by one, I laid out the evidence on the table, photographs of him with her, screenshots of text messages, bank statements showing the money funneled into his secret life, and then the recordings, the sound of his voice whispering to another woman, promising her the world while lying to me. Gasps filled the room, faces turned, shocked and disbelieving. Randall's face drained of color, his jaw tightening as his carefully crafted mask shattered. "Joyce, this is not the place," he started, his voice breaking. "This is the exact place." I cut him off. "For too long, you have lived two lives, pretending to be a faithful husband while treating me like a fool. But tonight, Randall, everyone sees you for what you are." The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of his humiliation dripping into the air. But just as I thought I had won, a voice broke through the tension. "Joyce, there is something you need to know." It was Megan. She stepped forward, her face pale but her eyes resolute. The room turned toward her. My heart pounded in my chest. "What are you doing?" I whispered, my throat dry. She swallowed hard. "Joyce, it was not just Randall. It was me too." The room erupted in shocked gasps. My knees went weak. "What are you saying?" "I did not plan it. It started years ago when you and Randall were going through that rough patch. I was lonely. He was there. It was a mistake, Joyce. A terrible mistake. But I need you to know the truth. It was not just another woman. It was me." The world tilted. My best friend, my sister in everything but blood, the one I had cried to, leaned on, trusted with my deepest pain, she had been part of the betrayal all along. My chest burned, tears stinging my eyes. "You?" My voice cracked, raw and broken. "All those times I poured my heart out to you, all the while you were sleeping with my husband?" Megan's lips trembled. "I am so sorry." But sorry meant nothing. The crowd looked on, horrified, as I stood between two people who had torn my life apart. Randall tried to speak. "Joyce, listen." "Do not speak," I snapped, my voice trembling with rage. "You are nothing to me now, both of you." I turned to the room, my head held high, even as my heart shattered. "You all came here tonight to celebrate Randall's success. Instead, you have witnessed the truth. The truth of a man who betrayed his wife and a friend who betrayed her sister." Silence. No one moved. And then I placed the wedding ring he had given me on the table. "This marriage is over," I declared, "and so is every lie that bound it." I walked out of the room, my hands trembling, my chest aching, but my spine straighter than it had been in years. In the weeks that followed, Randall tried to apologize, begged for forgiveness, but I never looked back. Megan sent letters, left voicemails, tried to explain. I deleted them all. Some betrayals cut too deep to ever heal. I moved forward with my life, not unscarred, but unbroken. At 57, I learned that sometimes the greatest act of revenge is not in the spectacle of humiliation, but in reclaiming your own power and refusing to be diminished. Randall lost his reputation, his friends' respect, and his marriage. Megan lost me forever. And I, though wounded, gained something they could never take away: my freedom, my strength, and my truth. If betrayal has ever touched your life, let this be a reminder: you are never too old, too broken, or too betrayed to rise again. Pain can break you, but it can also build you into someone unshakable. Thank you for listening to my story. If you felt the weight of this journey, please drop your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever faced betrayal from someone you trusted most? How did you rise above it? Share your stories. I would love to read them. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is what keeps stories like mine alive.